Happy Wednesday. Love E Live every Wednesday. It's Hump Day Wednesday, so I hope y'all are having a good week. I know I am. I actually was able to take a little break, so my work week kind of just starting today. Oh, there you go. It's about, yeah, there it goes. Let me let her in. Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Love E Live every Wednesday. Hope y'all week is going well so far.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. How are you? It's so good to see you.
Likewise, it's good to see you too. Look, the only way we're gonna be able to see each other right now.
Right. Exactly. That part.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just saying hi to everybody. Love E Live every Wednesday. Speak with a phenomenal woman owned business where she'll share about her business, herself, her why, and of course give us a few tips on whatever her industry is on how we can possibly use it in our own life, business, self-care, all kinds. Because I interview and talk with so many different type of people. So we of course are happy to have you here in February, Black History Month, and on
Yes.
Women Wednesday.
On Women Wednesday, Black History Month. Look, we are winning.
Yes, yes. All the W's, all the W's.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of
I'm really,
course.
really excited. Did you want to wait a little bit or you just want to jump right into it?
No, we can jump in because the thing is, I always have the replay right up, and then I'll mention
Awesome.
in the stories too that there's the replay and they can watch it because people will come in and out. So some people are going to miss the beginning, some people are going to miss the end. So we just usually get started, and like I said, I'll throw the replay up and remind people that they can check it out as I see
Okay.
people joining in too. So introduce yourself, tell us about
Yes.
your business, and of course why you got into what you do.
Absolutely. So my name is Takicha, and we have a company called the Brand Amplifiers. And with every company, there's always a story, there's always a background, there's a why. And actually, how we got started is back in 2004. Actually, we lived in Las Vegas, and when we were in Vegas, oddly, we discovered that there was a 7% Black population. And we're like, oh, this is different.
That sounds so funny because I live in Atlanta where I think it's 99% Black.
Exactly. And so here's a funny thing, like both Warwick and I are actually from Miami. So I was
Oh,
born in
okay.
New York, raised
Where
in
I was at.
Miami.
That's where I was just at.
I love both. And
Yeah.
what's so funny is although there's a very high percentage of us, there's also a lot of other people from
Yeah.
all kinds of places, right? So
Yeah.
both New York and Miami. First of all, in Miami, everybody's an islander. You coming
Yeah.
from some island.
Yeah.
I happen
Yeah.
to be Haitian. So my friends were Puerto Rican, they were Jamaican, you name the island, they were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So coming from that, Warwick was military. We got sent to Las Vegas. And of course, we were like, first of all, we were like, people live in Vegas. Like,
I know,
so
because it's such a place that people just go hang out on the strip and that's
exactly.
it.
And that's it. So we're like, okay. And I got married young. So literally I was 18, Warwick was
Oh,
20.
wow.
And
Okay.
so I wasn't even old enough to gamble anyway. So
Hilarious.
So here we are in Vegas, 7% Black population, and we just could feel like this is missing something, right? Like we like being around diversity, and now we're around nothing like that.
Yeah.
So how could we fill the gap?
Yeah.
And so we started doing an event called the Untamed Tongues, and we would watch Def Poetry Jam, if anybody is familiar
Yes,
with
I
that.
remember that.
Yep, we would watch Def Poetry Jam and we would write the names from the credits so that we knew who was performing.
Yeah.
And we go to MySpace. Yes, I'm that old. MySpace.
I remember MySpace too.
Okay. And hit them up on MySpace and say, hey, we have this event called the Untamed Tongues. Would you come and be our guest?
Yeah.
And so we started flying people in. And
That's
then it got to the point where it was so big where R&B celebrities started hitting us up saying, yo, we heard y'all were the people to connect with. And we're like, we are. So fast forward, our youngest daughter wanted to be a DJ. She was 6 years old. And she's like, oh, I want to be a DJ. And we were like, well, you could
know
be.
what a DJ was at 6.
Because she was coming to our events and she would see the DJ. And so she's like, I want to do what he's doing. And we're like, oh, that's so cute. When you get older, you could do that. And she was like, but I want to do it now. And we're like, okay. So we ended up getting her equipment, borrowing equipment from friends. We didn't know what we were doing. Neither one of us are DJs.
Yeah.
And we started hitting people up to figure out how they could help us get her in the industry.
Yeah.
But no one took us seriously because she was a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So Warwick and I decided, okay, we're going to put all our efforts behind her. We're going to brand her ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're going to see where this goes.
Yeah.
So we took this 6-year-old, started branding her. By 8 years old, she was already a professional DJ, getting paid to do it.
That's
by 11, she was DJing for the 14. She was DJing for the Obamas, Verizon. You name it, she was there. T-Mobile, like we've done so many things. And she is now grown. She's 19 years old. She's gone to school for music production and engineering.
Yeah.
So pivot, we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because she was the client that we did everything for.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I told you in the beginning that celebrities were hitting us up.
Yeah.
So they were still hitting us up being like, yo, we like what you've done with DJ Beauty and the Beats. I need help with this. I need help with that. And we're like, no, we can't do that anymore because we have to figure out something else.
Yeah.
And people kept hitting us up. And we're like, no, we don't have time. We got to figure out something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a friend of mine was like, why are y'all not branding for other people? And we're like, because we don't have time. And she's like, why is that not what you're doing? Period. That should be your business.
Yeah.
So we're like, you're right. So we started doing that. So the crazy thing is we started doing it and already had an audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we already had people on our personal page, people who knew us from DJ Beauty and the Beats, people that we've worked with in television. You know, we have folks at CNN, we have folks at Fox. And so it was just like, yo, we literally had a network to do this all along.
Yeah.
But we were steady trying to be something else for whatever reason. And the reason I love that story so much is everybody doesn't recognize that what they're good at, they're already doing.
Yeah.
Most of us are trying to find something.
A couple
Say it again?
weeks ago, I said another guest, she said the same thing. Like she loved to draw, but she didn't think it could be a real living from it. And she said it kept coming back and people kept saying like, why aren't you doing it right? And so now she's finally doing it. And she's like a graphic artist. So she designs on pillows, clothes, wallpaper, home decor, all of it. But now she was like, I just thought it was doodling. And now that's what she does for a living. So, yeah.
You know, the thing about what we do, and this is really for everybody, is every part of your life, we're always trying to compartmentalize ourselves, right? Because there was a time where we were told you could only do one thing at a time, right? And although there is a little bit of truth to that, in all honesty, all the parts of you is what makes you you. Exactly. That's what makes you unique. All of the experiences you've had, all of the places you've worked, all of the expertise you've learned along the way, you know, the long journey you took, your failures, all of those things is what makes you you. And all of those things is what attracts a certain demographic to you, a certain psychographic to you. But a lot of us are so afraid of our own story because we concentrate on the fact that we didn't do so well. It doesn't look so good. It's not this, it's not that. But it's like nobody's interested in perfection, honestly.
Yeah, because none of us are perfect.
None of us are perfect. So it's like just find your most authentic voice. Create what that looks like visually. Help your audience to understand what words kind of embody who you are and what it is that you're offering, and work around that. And your brand also doesn't have to be a 1, 2, 3 done. It's a process. Yeah.
And it's going to evolve as you grow and evolve. And where you started is not necessarily where you're going to be in the middle or the end. And you're going to pivot and adjust, as we've all learned from 2020, that we all had to get real creative and real innovative because we can't do things exactly how we used to. Our world
exactly
changed.
Exactly. And even the biggest brands do it. They pivot all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but again, you have to. And so it's like, don't be afraid of failure. That's first and foremost. It's like, start somewhere. We all have to start.
Exactly. Yeah,
you know,
and
and
you
so
don't start, you don't even know where to go from there. So at least if you start, you can kind of see, okay, this is working, this is not working. And then you kind of figure it out as you go, as it ebbs and it flows.
Exactly. And it just keeps looking better and
Yeah.
better and better
Yeah.
and better. And then it's crazy. It's almost like a portfolio.
Yeah.
Like you'll go back to some of your first stuff and be like, ooh.
Yeah. 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 Like, oh,
But you
that's what
had
I
to
did.
start.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to
You
grow
have to
from it though.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
And so
amazing.
I
I
mean,
love the story.
we love it. We love helping people find their voice, which is
Yeah.
what we specialize in,
Mhm.
helping them tell their own authentic stories.
Yeah.
What we really do is we hijack attention. So once we understand who you are, why you do what you do,
Yeah.
who you service, then we find points to attract your audience by hijacking attention. So I'll give you an example. We have a gentleman from out of Kentucky,
Hmm.
older white guy, really, really smart, brilliant dude. He's a pianist.
Hmm.
And he has such a, like, he's just such a dope person to be around because he's very passionate. And
Yeah.
every time he speaks, you're like, because he's so passionate.
Yeah.
And so when he came to us, he had already done several reels. What makes him special as a pianist is that he goes to prisons and he brings a concert to the prisons in an effort
Oh,
to bring
wow.
hope. It's crazy,
Ah,
right? Like
okay.
it's just an
Okay.
amazing story.
Yeah.
And so when we looked at his reels, everything is him talking about what he does for the prisoner. So when he came to us, we were like, why don't we tell the story from the prisoner's perspective?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? Because the purpose of the story that he wanted to tell is so that he can get more donations to continue going to these prisons.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you want donations, you have to invoke empathy,
Yeah.
right?
And
And so
emotion
it's
from people to move them.
exactly, exactly. And so how do we do that? Why don't we tell the story from the prisoner's perspective? So
Yeah.
after talking to him and gathering a lot of the assets he has, some of the things he had are letters from prisoners telling him, thank you so much for doing
Yeah.
this. And then a lot of them, they tell their life story.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking to find out how some people even ended up in prison. Like,
Yeah.
we like to think this person did something wrong, they're a
Yeah.
bad person, you know, how could you do this?
Yeah.
But some people were really just dealt a bad hand of
Yeah.
cards,
Yeah.
right? They were born in a very unfortunate situation. They didn't have the same types of support that a lot of people, you know, have the privilege
Yeah.
of having. And so taking a wrong path, that's all they've seen.
Oh, shoot. It froze. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah,
It had
yeah,
froze
yeah.
for a second.
Um, and so with that being said, like once we started to dig into who he is, who he services, how those people feel, we were able to create a story from that to help him get donations all from the
Yeah.
prisoner's perspective. And how we
Yeah.
hijacked the tension was we used a photo of his because we created a YouTube video. And what
Okay.
we created was a photo of his, and the hijacking line was, this man has been to prison over 1,000 times. So of
But
course,
then they assumed the pianist had been to prison, and in actuality, he'd only been there to perform.
exactly,
Hey,
ex-
Alex.
exactly. So that's what we do. That's what we
That's
do. We
what's up.
find ways to package your story so that it's
Yeah.
more exciting to the viewer.
Yeah. Yeah. And garner some interest into what they're doing, because there's so many, there's so many voices out here, especially now on social media. Hey, Yolanda. And so it's hard to get your voice heard unless you're doing
Right.
something that makes people want to pay attention. So that's an
Absolutely.
awesome story. So now he's raised a lot of money to be able to go and continue to help in the
He's
prison.
still working on all of those pieces. We were
Yeah.
responsible for creating that video for him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now he's working with another brand to help propel that video even to
That's
so that he can start to
awesome.
collect. Yeah. And so, I mean, those are some of the things that we do on a daily.
Yeah.
The first part is like telling the story, like
Yeah.
really sitting down with whether it's a major brand, a small company, or a
Yeah.
personal brand, finding out what makes them special, right? Like
Yeah.
what makes them unique.
Yeah.
You know, and in some instances, even things as small as like people. I have a story about a young lady that we met. Love her to pieces. She has so much energy. And when she first came to us, she says, "I just want to talk about sex," and we're like, "Okay, that's interesting." You know, so we're like, well, why? So
Yeah.
she tells us her story, why she's so interested in it, why she feels like more women, especially women of color, need to be having these conversations, how she felt it was important for women of color to explore their own bodies.
Yeah.
And when she came to us, the name that she had chosen for herself, we were like, would you consider a different name? And she's like, no, I'm 90% hooked on the name.
Yeah.
So we were like, so there's a 10% chance that you will change if we can.
Hilarious.
You know, so we put something together for her, and then when we presented it, she was like, oh my God, this is my new name.
Yeah.
Okay. And we were like, great. So then we created a logo for her, and then we start to help her tell the story. And then we create a brand strategy for her so that we help her understand, not only, like, she already knows who she is, but sometimes we have trouble articulating who we are.
Yeah.
Right? So we help her find those
so that
words.
Other people can understand who you are with your words and your actions and stuff. Yeah.
Because the biggest thing is you've lived with yourself in your body, with your experiences for so long, that there are aspects of yourself that are common knowledge.
Yeah.
So when you go to regurgitate it, there's so many missing elements to it because you've lived it. It's yours.
Yeah.
You know, so we help people like fill in the gaps. Like, oh, no, you missed that story. You missed the story. I need to hear more, and we need to explain that.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you feel like y'all have had to adjust with the way the world has changed in the last, year now? Almost a year. It'll be almost a year that we've been dealing with this in March.
Well, you know what's funny is when my daughter was going to college, it was when COVID hit.
Okay.
So we had already been in the middle of transitioning just because of our own personal household.
Yeah.
Right? It actually had zero to do with the fact that there was a pandemic.
Yeah.
And so we had already started Zoom calling.
Yeah.
You know, a very funny story. And I have to be really careful when I tell this story because I feel that sometimes people may take it the wrong way. But when my daughter was about 11 years old, she said, Mom, if you could have a superpower, what would that superpower be? And I said, I just want the world to be on pause so I can get caught up. If I could pause the world and I can get caught up, that would be life-changing. And when COVID first hit, my husband and I were like, we got the power. The world has paused.
Everything paused. Yes.
Everything paused. So while everybody's scurrying around trying to figure things out, we now have time to get caught up. So do what you got to do. And that's exactly what we did. And because everyone stopped and we were still moving, we attracted attention to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think of like a field where everybody is frozen, the first person to move will draw attention.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. So it definitely, the pivot was something we were already working on.
That's good. Yeah, everybody I've talked to has had a different experience on how they either adjusted, how they pivoted, what they've done, what they came up with new, because I think it really stretched our creativity in regards to like, okay, obviously we can't do how we used to do it. So it forced us to get creative and think, really think, how do I keep going, doing what I love, keep servicing my clients, keep giving value, keep community engagement, et cetera, et cetera. So, because I know I'm going to an event virtually tomorrow, and I know the lady, this is like her first time. She took the whole year off of 20, because she kept hoping it was going to be over. You know how like when it first happened, we didn't know how long it was going to last. So she was like, I'll just, take a break. I'll figure it out for spring. And then summer came. We still was in it. Because she was like adamant about she didn't want to do virtual because all her things were like in-person events. And so this year she found was like, obviously it's not over. This is a new world. And she's just now like, hey, I'm here. Let's get started. And so she's having her first event since 2019.
Oh, wow.
Tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. So she just didn't do anything in 2020 related to this because she was just like, I wanted to ride it out. Now I see that it's not going to leave anytime soon. So she's bringing the community back together. So I'm going to her event tomorrow virtually to support her. But, everybody dealt with it different. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to personally to take a year off. Now, mind you, she's a lawyer by day. So she could technically afford to take a year off from her entrepreneurship business versus this is all that I do. So I couldn't take a year off even if I wanted to because this is my full-time job and I need to work.
Exactly.
But just an example of how everybody has been dealing with the difference. Some people was like, you know, I'm going to get my house together. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to chill out for the spring, come back in the summer. And some people went immediately hard as soon as they realized it happened, because people got bills to pay. People got things they have to take care of.
Right.
And they didn't necessarily have the luxury to wait it out or
Right.
ride it out when we didn't even know what was happening, because it's changing from day to day, week to week, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Right.
What tips will you give us as you being the branding expert and whatnot? What tips can you give us for personal branding, business branding? Any tips you think we might could apply? Even though you've basically been saying it the whole time we've been talking about finding your voice, figuring out your story, but just to hit those points, like bullet points for people who have came in later, left, come back, etc. Again, the replay is going to be up so people can watch it from start to finish if they want, but to catch whoever may just have joined us and missed your stories and how you expressed it.
Right. So the first thing is with any company is defining who you are. Like that's really, really important. So once you've defined who you are, then defining who is it that you want to serve. Right. And so that means your products, your services, whatever it is that you have to offer the world, like who is it exactly? Like creating an avatar is really important. And I feel like a lot of people miss that.
That's what I call
exactly. A customer persona, like who is your customer?
Yeah.
Right. And so many people are like, well, I want to service everybody because they think that what they have is great enough for everybody. And although it might be, you'll confuse your audience if you're not speaking directly to a persona.
Exactly.
Right.
And so look, it's riches and niches.
Yes. That's it. It's like,
just, are you about to be the next Walmart? Because if not, or Amazon, then go on and focus on who you're trying to focus on. So I don't service everybody, and I'm fine with that. I service the type of people when I found the people that I wanted to service in my lane, that's when my business grew exponentially. Of course, in the beginning of my business, I ain't know nothing about customer persona. I serviced whoever came my way. But as I wanted to grow and scale and learn, it was like, no, I service 35 to anytime I work with somebody under 35, it'd be a problem. So I was like, I am very targeted on who I want to work with and the kind of clients I want to attract. And that's who I'm trying to put out there.
Absolutely. It's funny that you would bring up Walmart because I have a post about Walmart.
Yeah.
So when y'all get a chance, please check out that post about Walmart.
Yes, put in your website in the comments and pin it. And then of course the replay is going to be up. I'm going to tag her. You can go and follow her page. You can reach out to her and connect, go to her website, all of the things. But yeah, so, you gotta, I think you definitely have to, I teach a class to help other people.
Why am I on I just realized that I'm on the Roundtrees instead of on the Brand Amplifiers.
I just realized that too. I didn't even realize it because when you, I just accepted you when you popped up. So I didn't even think about it. Somebody else I know did the same thing, but she noticed it in the beginning. So she jumped off and came back on. I'll tag the right one. It's a habit though. It's a habit to go to your
wait a minute. But anyway, it's cool. So, so again, like, so the thing about Walmart, when we tell the Walmart story, what's interesting about that is we have this perception that Walmart services everybody because they sell everything.
Yes.
But they actually have a target audience. And their target audience are working families who need to save money.
That makes sense.
It does.
That makes sense.
So it's like, so even though, yes, people outside that demographic are going to shop there, but who they're talking to is the person who needs to save money. And then their tagline is save money, live better.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll save money with shopping and then you'll be able to use that money to live a better life.
Yeah.
You won't be so stressed. Right, because
I think that's why people joke about, like, I'm going to Target because it's supposed to be like a Target is supposed to be a little bit higher quality than Walmart when they're both similar stores.
Exactly. So
Target might be a little bit pricier, a little bit more pricey. I don't really know. I don't shop in either one of them, so I can't deal with big gigantic stores and walking. I don't want to do all that. So
I don't want to do all that. I just want to know where it is.
I want to go in and just get my tissue and walk out. Like, I don't want to have to walk past food, appliances. all of the things. So
All
I'm
the
not a
kids,
Walmart or Target shopper to begin with.
toys.
Yeah, it's too
Exactly.
much. It's overwhelming to me. I don't want to do all that. And it's
Exactly.
a
Right.
setup because people go in there
Oh
and
yeah.
can't buy what they came in there for. They got to buy a whole cart because they done got distracted by the shiny objects. Not me. I'm not going in.
And that's funny that you would mention that, because my next point is to always be forward thinking,
Yeah,
right? And so what that means is, what should you look like in the future? And
yeah,
the reason companies like Walmart can get so much more of your money is because they take you through a maze trying to get your one thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Because the
in
thing
the
you need is in the back of the store. So you got to walk past a bazillion things in the first place. Ain't nothing in the front you really need. Okay.
exactly, because all the thing, when you get back to the line, they have all this stuff,
Yeah.
impulse shopping stuff, but
Yes.
now you fill in your little cart with stuff you don't need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So the
Exactly.
forward thinking part is, as a brand, what things can you add to your service or your products that are just like extras
Yeah.
that people would buy?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so almost like if you think of the impulse shopping, like
Yeah.
what can they go on your site and buy extras of, just because it's like, ooh, I like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So it's not, so even if it's a course, right? If whatever your brand is, you have something that you can teach. If
Yeah.
you have a service that you provide, you can actually teach this service,
Yeah.
because there are lots of people that you actually know more than they know.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
branding is a full service thing, where it's like, it goes from, who am I servicing? What kind of products can I provide to them?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? Real quick, I wanted to throw this out there too. The difference between branding and marketing,
Ah,
because
okay.
people like to make them like interchangeable, but they're not the same thing.
They're not. So branding is actually what people think of you, or how they perceive you,
Yes.
right? So that is what branding is. So it includes your logo, it includes your colors or your color palette, it includes your voice, your tone, it includes customer service,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
It includes everything about how people perceive you and how they understand you.
Yes.
Marketing is actually more like advertising.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so those are like the differences.
Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. I just wanted to, I knew the difference, but I wanted to throw it out there because I know it's like, oh yeah, so I need marketing, branding, PR, and all three of those, like three different
Right. Because you
spheres.
can't go to market. You can't do no marketing or advertising if you
Yeah.
haven't even had a brand. If you don't
Yeah.
have a brand, there's
Yeah.
nothing to market or advertise.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. I'm so glad you joined us today. Look, the time just flew by. It's
I
already
know.
almost
Thank you for
7:30.
having
I
me.
told you because I know a lot of times people be like, I don't know, I'm not used to getting interviews. Like I'm like, it will flow, trust. And then next thing you know, the time be, oh, was it 30 minutes already? Be like, yep, it's up, it's over. We don't usually go
Yes.
over 30 minutes too much more further. I just like to be able to share with people, expose them to brands they may not have known about, of course, uplift other women, Black women especially, own brands and businesses on Women Wednesdays,
Right.
and be able to share and that they can learn something. So hopefully they got these takeaways that they can apply to, because the thing about branding is not just for, oh, I don't have a business, so this doesn't apply to me, but even your personal brand, like how you are at work, that personal brand of you goes from company to company. Of like, yeah, she's always been on it, finished task, versus she's always late, never finished. Like
Yep.
that's gonna go with you wherever. So branding is important, whether it's for your business or just for your personal brand, because it will go with you from place to place to place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I put the brand amplifiers again in there,
Okay.
and I forgot so if I don't think it lets me pin it.
I'll do it not. And see, and somebody told me about pinning the last time. Look, don't get me the line on trying to pin it. Well, either way, I'm about to save the live.
Excellent.
And when I save it, I'm gonna tag you anyway, so
Okay.
it'll be there that way. Because yeah,
Okay.
don't get me to trying to
Perfect.
figure
And
out how to pin it at the moment.
I
Because
know,
I
I'm
done
so
forgot
ashamed that I
already.
actually came
Somebody
on my
told me about
personal
it
page
before.
instead of my brand amplifiers page. Now I'm like, really, Keisha? But it's all good.
No, it's all good. Thank you again for joining. I'm sure, of course, we'll be texting and talking like we do offline. And
Yes.
thank you for coming on the show. And like I said, I'm about to put the replay up as soon as we finish. So if you came late, left early, You can catch the replay. It'll be up right after I close this call.
Okay, thanks so
All right,
much.
talk
Have
to
a
you
good
later.
one.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.